Go live. All right, and we're live. Welcome, guys, back to another show. As always, really enjoy these live interviews. Been really enjoying this since I started doing them live about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So excited for another one today. Today, I got my guy Stephon Martinez with me. Stephon, what's going on?
Hey, man, how are you? I appreciate you having me.
Good. And for anyone who this may be their first time seeing you, give us an idea of what you do, kind of how you got into the basketball player development space.
Yeah, so I run my business, Dig Deep Basketball, full time. I started back in 2014. I coached in college for 3 years, so it was kind of coaching college, run my in the summers, and then in 2017, when I got done coaching college, I decided just to run my brand full time. I was a grad assistant at Northwestern State. I know you had my guy Pete on last week, so he's kind of going through the same GA position. And when I got done with my GA, they were kind of like, "Hey, do you want us to help you get a college job, or what do you want to do?" And I just at this time, like, college wasn't my route. Like, I loved impacting more than just 15 individuals and being all over the place, and kind of the power of freedom. So that's kind of why I chose to do my own thing independently.
Got you. And then what's your clientele look like mainly? Do you work with youth players, high school, college, pro? Like who are you mainly working with?
So right now I'm in Houston, Texas. So right now I'm strictly NBA and guys preparing for the draft clientele, just because of what's going on with COVID. But like generally, like during like the winter fall months, excuse me.
You get bless you.
During the winter fall months, it's more youth. But like right now with what's going on, I can't really tell you who I'm working with, just because of what's going on with COVID and like weird pre-draft process, because right now with pre-draft, NBA teams aren't allowed to request workout footage, any of that type of stuff. So right now, us, the players, kind of have the leverage of like what we want to put out, what content, where we're training at, that type of stuff. But right now it's more NBA clientele. I always in the fall, I love to go to Europe. I go to Europe for like 30 days and bounce around, see guys. Which is a great learning experience. But man, I work with everybody, man. Really, I don't really start working with anybody until 5th grade. Right now, obviously, it's not like that. But typically, like, I rarely work with a kid at 5th, 6th, maybe. But really, middle school is like when I start, because it's, I don't know, at that point, I think you kind of realize, you kind of have an idea. You're trying to figure out what you want to do with this game. You're not just doing it because your friends are doing it. Like middle school, you kind of start separating yourself.
Got you. On the subject of the pre-draft stuff, and sorry, my dog's in the background, but on the subject of the pre-draft stuff, like what is that process looking like right now with everything going on?
It's different for sure. With the draft being in October now, your typical pre-draft process would be like, maybe April, May, and now would be like August, September. But like guys we've been working since like May. So it's stretched out. So with it being stretched out, we got to really watch the workload, not only physically, but the mental capacity. Whereas we don't need to go. I'm not saying we're not working hard, because we're working hard every time. We got to like we have time to deload if we want to deload. Like in the pre-draft process, I mean, you can deload a little bit. It's just tough. But I will say it's nice, because in a typical pre-draft process, you got guys flying in and out, going to workouts, having tons of more interviews going on. Like they always have something going on. Whereas now they have interviews still, but like there's no as much traveling.
For sure. Are they still doing like workouts with teams? Is that going to pick up, or is it like how is that working?
As of right now, no. But I could see, like, I don't know, like I don't think too many people are wrapped up around the draft right now. The people that are, because they're so worried about the bubble and what's going on and that type of stuff. But right now, like as of right now, there's nobody that's going to be watching live workouts or flying to workouts. But I hope that if the bubble works out, say even for like TBT or like the NBA, I think they'll be able to create a combine bubble too, if they're able to pull it off. If they're not able to pull it off, then I don't know how it's going to happen.
For sure. Now, typically, what does the pre-draft process look like as far as like what you're working on with players? Like, what is typically the priority during that period leading up to the draft?
I think every guy's got their own like MO of how they do their pre-draft stuff. It's tough because you want the player to be put in positions that because pre-draft, you got pre-draft, then you got the combine, then you got the draft, then you got practice, then you got summer league, then you got training camp, then you're in season. So like that's why I think it's so impressive when you have like a first year, second year player in the NBA, especially a rookie, go out and kill, because his first offseason isn't a true offseason. Yeah. Like I just said, like you got 6 to 8 weeks of working on your game, but you're flying, you're working out 2 days, and you got to go to Boston for a day. Then you come back and you got to fly to Phoenix. Like there's not really it's hard to have a ton of structure in that process. For me, I think that laying down a strategic plan, a foundation of like, what are you going to be at the next level? How quickly can we get you to your potential? And how long can we make you stay there? You know, like I give people LeBron, like you can argue he's the greatest ever because his apex is so long. A lot of people, like Shaq's apex was like 3 to 4 years. Like if his apex was 10 years, you could argue Shaq was the greatest player ever, but his apex was shorter. So figuring out, it's a little tough now too, because it's almost like going to the freshman year of college. Like, man, you could get drafted with them, and this is their system, and this is their system. You kind of just got to be. There's general stuff, right? Like I have a player, like he's going to be a pick and pop player. Okay, like that. There's some stuff in there. Don't matter who you play for. Like you're going to need to be maximizing this stuff, and the NBA is so about being great at something. You can't be good at 3 or 4 things. There's only about 4 or 5 dudes in this whole world that can do 3 or 4 or 5 things well at the NBA level. So it's like you got to find your niche and maximize your niche, because if you don't maximize your niche, you're not going to stay long term in the NBA or professionally, honestly. So, and then for me, is like teaching them the NBA game. Like it's completely different than college. Like it's the terminology, how it's played, the actions, everything's different. So just teaching them. And last year I was involved with some pre-draft stuff, but I was more assistant. So it allowed me to like really learn. This year it's completely my show. And I've learned that like sometimes you take for granted, you think these kids, they play at Power 5 schools and you think that they know certain stuff about the NBA, and they just don't know. They just see like they don't know like the nuances of the angle of the screen, or where it's supposed to be set, or what shot we're looking for, or just stuff like that. So, but yeah, I think everybody has their own little way they teach. I mean, we're teachers at the end of the day, you know, and I've had teachers that teach different ways, but they're all both good teachers.
For sure. And something you touched on there that I think is really important is the idea of like creating longevity in a player's career. Like from my perspective, what I do, obviously like nutrition, taking care of your body, like that's a major component of it. But from like a skills perspective and just being able to play the game, like how do you create that longevity to where you can last at the professional level?
I mean, I think it's about finding your niche. You know, like what can you be great at? You know, I think there's basic things that you have to be sufficient at, but there's also things you have to do at a top 1% level. You can't do things at a 10% level, top 10%. Like you got to be a top 1%, whether you're a corner 3 catch and shoot, you play off pick and roll, you're elite, versatile, you can guard 1 through 4 and switch out, and then you're a great spot up shooter. Like I just think that longevity, you can't come in your NBA career and be like, all right, I'm going to be a great pick and roll player, I'm going to be a great corner 3, I'm going to be one of the best defenders. Like, yeah, ideally, we'd all like to be the greatest player ever, but you got to find what you do well. I think that's why every workout's different with different players. Like I have a guy that he's a post, he's a pick and pop, he's versatile. I have a PG, I have another wing. Like they're all different within their realm. Because pre-draft process is different than like having a current NBA player in the off season. You know, like current player in the off season knows what his role is. So we're trying to maximize that, but then also create a role that's wider. But you got to maximize your first role first. And the pre-draft guys, you got to maximize that first. So you can't just come in. You're not like John Zion, get the keys from the jump. Like a lot of these guys, you got to come in and find what your niche is, what your role is, kill that, and then be able to gain another role, because the organization, the coach has to trust you.
Yeah.
If they don't trust you, they're not going to maximize your role. Like, all right, we need you to be a spot 40% corner 3 catch and shoot. Well, you didn't do that. Well, why would I now let you play off pick and roll? Take a guy like, because I'm from St. Louis, a guy like Brad Beal. And Drew Hanlon obviously trains Brad. Drew does a great job. Like, Brad came to the NBA, like he was a catch and shoot 3, playoff pin down 2. But now that dude is elite in pick and roll. Elite. Yeah. Like, that dude is elite in pick and roll, and he didn't get that role from the jump. He got that throughout his career. So longevity is about, I think, finding your niche earlier, and then obviously expanding your game once you find your niche to stay in the NBA.
Yeah, no, I like that approach a lot, because I think a lot of players, especially like at the high school and college level, like want to expand their role and want to be like the guy on their team. And I think how you put it, of like first like really doing well, like what you're supposed to do, and then from there branching out. I really like that.
No, for sure. I think some players are like, well, I don't know what to work on. Like, what do you do in games? Where are you putting games? You know, like, I think sometimes players, they get caught up in being with the coach too much. They always are told what to do, and then they get in the gym and they don't know what to do by themselves. That's a youth thing. That's not an NBA thing. But finding a niche.
For sure. And let's say we've got a couple questions in the comments already, so I'll pull up one of them right now. Let's see. What skills would you say are most important for point guards?
What skills are most important for point guards? For one, you gotta be able to defend your position. I think in the game how it is now, I mean, it could be different, but like generally speaking, your point guard has to make the most decisions. So you got to be a great decision maker. And the most important skill in basketball is to shoot. So if you can be a great decision maker, you defend your position, and you can shoot the basketball at a high clip. And I mean, I'm a point guard guy too, so it's like you need to be able to lead. Now, there's different type of leaders, but
for sure,
that's off the top of my head. That's not even me thinking like logically, but decisions, be able to shoot the ball. Excuse me, be a leader. Leading is such a hard thing when you're young. I don't know how young the player is, but I think that leading can be developed based on environment and based on the coaching of who the player is. I think that I got blessed that way. I wasn't a high level player. I played JUCO and I played NEI, but I do stamp my name of being my team captain at every level I played at. So leading is something that is tough. It's not easy. It's the most scrutiny. You got to have the most uncomfortable conversations, but if you want your team to be good, you have to have uncomfortable conversations. And that's even coaching staff. You know, I've been around coaching staffs that they kind of just say whatever the head coach wants them to do. And at times that can be tough because you don't want yes men at any level.
Yeah.
Even short story, I had a NBA player and we were in workouts, and first 15, 20 minutes was high tempo, was a lot of like make a pass, make another pass, go into a tactical finish. Like it was high tempo. So it was like pass, finish. So it wasn't just like do this, finish. It was, I'll give you the example. He had the ball in the elbow. He took a dribble to his right, sprayed it to the right corner. He's a post player, so then I threw him a pocket pass. We call it a hip to his nose, skip it to the opposite corner, and then he had to finish at the rim. And it was crap. The first 15, 20 minutes was crap. And I was like, make it free. He was working out with somebody else too, one of his former teammates. So it was,
gotcha.
The guy was a post, a skill post, and that was a PG. So I had to change up the tactical finishes. But anyway, I was like, all right, make a couple free throws, and I'm below the rim. And I was like, that was crap. I didn't say that. I said it a little more violently. I'm like, not with a yelling, demeaning tone. Just, hey, that was crap. Like that was not sufficient. And the player's like, no, we just missed a couple soft touch finishes. I was like, no, the tempo's not good either. So I'm sitting underneath the rim like this, throws the ball at me, right at my face, like chucks it like a baseball. And I had a couple guys in front of me and one of them blocked the ball. So I went up to him like now it's confrontational, right? Like it's like, what's going on, right?
Yeah.
And I just told him like, you don't want yes men in your circle, do you? Is that what you want? Because that for me, that's not what I'm gonna be for you. I'm not just gonna be like, oh yeah, it's like, you know, like you want somebody in your circle. It's not gonna be just a yes man for you. And he's like, all right, come on. He ended up apologizing later on, 3 or 4 times later that day, because he knew he was in the wrong, but he also knew that I was there to better him. Like I'm not just gonna be like a yes man. Well, come to find out, he had a family problem going on, but I had no idea before I got on the floor, right? But I was saying like, well, you don't want those type of people. You want people that are going to be like, if you trust him, and he trusts me, but you don't want people that you trust to then not be straightforward and you know, let you know when you're out of place. So I know we got off topic there with the point guards, but I got into a little rant there.
Yeah, no, I think it's important though. I think because that whole idea of like things happening off the court, people think the NBA players are just like robots that go in, they play, and they just play at a high level. They don't realize like they're people too, and they have off the court stuff to deal with all the time, and it definitely affects training. And from my perspective, it affects diet 100%, like stress eating and just not staying on track, stuff like that. So it definitely is something at all levels. Yeah, for sure. And then you had mentioned decision making as well as a point guard. Now I'm curious, like from your perspective, how do you develop that in a player? Because I know a lot of hoopers struggle with that, kind of overthinking things or like not being able to make decisions on the fly as effectively. Like, how do you build that in a player?
Well, at times, you know, the decision is more important than the skill. Now, if you have a skill deficiency, then you have to build that tactical skill to then make your decision easier on the player. So, like for me, like there's kind of an outline where it comes to tactical skill. It's, you know, it's walk through 50%, 100%, 100% with contact, in action, and then with decision. So like that decision is the last part when you're building a tactical skill. I like to give players tactical first, of put you in a position where there's a few tactical skills that could be used, and then you make a decision within that once the tactical side is sufficient enough. Gotcha. So like, for example, like I'm working with a player in college, he did everything off 2 feet. On the NBA, unless you're a wing or a post, like you got to be able to play off 1 foot. Like, you can't go in there and just chest to chest and body people at the rim. Like you got to be an absolute athlete, or you got to be extremely lengthy or with size. So like for him, you got to build the tactical 1 foot skill first. So what I'm saying, like, I'm not going to have you come and make, so I said, be like, oh, that's a wrong decision because you went off 2 feet when he hasn't tactically worked on 1 foot. I can't ask you to make the right decision off 1. Does that make sense? I think that I do some hand cue stuff. So like hands up, hands down, hands out. That's kind of cued on how I dictate it, whether it's catch and shoot, drive it, spray it out. I'm lucky right now because I feel for some guys, because when you're working out somebody individually, it's hard to make decisions. Yeah. It can be tough because at times it has to be block training, you know, where I tell you what to do and then you just do it. Like there's no decision made in that. But it's hard, right? It's like, all right, I want you to come off pick and roll and throw a pocket pass. Well, there's no extra defender there, so it's hard to have a tag man to read that. Does that make sense? Whereas like with me, I'm lucky because I always have like 2, 3, 4 people help me with the workout. Whereas, all right, you're gonna come off pick and roll. I'm flat showing it. We got 2 players in the other slot. You got to read the tag, throw it to the roll or throw the skip. But I think that teaching the tactical is important before getting into the decision. But with that being said, the decision is more important than the skill at times. So, like, for example, I had 2 players in on Thursday, and they were doing very simple. It was a downhill attacking move. First tactical thing was small hooks. Were small hooks down the slot. Then they were, let me think this right. Then they were attack downhill, change direction, small hook. So now they're going back to the way that they had started.
Mhm.
Well, now we just make a decision. So same attacking move. If you get a hip-to-hip relationship out of the attacking move, it's downhill hook. Downhill move. If you get a chest-to-chest relationship, then you go the other way. But you don't know. I'm not going to tell you how I'm going to defend it. So now you're reading the relationship. You're reading hip-to-hip or you're reading chest-to-hip. So that's like a very small example of like how to make decisions. And they messed up. And these are high-level people. But instead of me, because training and coaching can get very dictate on the perfectionist of the play of the coach. Like, yes, at times, like on the tab, like, yeah, we got to get it right. Got to get it right. Got to get it right. Right. So like, for example, in that, our change of direction was just like, I call it an invert between the leg. I won't get into details, but that's what we were doing.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, they got into the decision and one of them made the right decision because I got chest to chest with him. So he changed direction, but he went behind the back and he went and finished the hook.
Yeah.
I said, did we rep behind the back? He was like, no. I said, but did you make the right decision based on the relationship of how the defender was defending you? Yes. Okay. And that situation, it doesn't matter. You're not getting style points in the real game because you went between the leg. You executed because you went behind the back. Because I try to really just stick to you got to be able to gain advantage. You got to be able to make the correct decision, and then you got to be able to execute that decision. If you can do those three things, whether it's tactical and any skill, that's kind of like the basis. As simple as that sounds, like, okay, if I can't create an advantage, then we're going to be playing straight up 5-on-5 and be shooting a bunch of jump shots at the guy in front of me. But if I can create an advantage, okay, I get by you. Now I got to make this. Do I spray it or do I keep it? Okay, he's got his arm in the gap, so I pick it up high. Okay, now what kind of finish do I? Can I finish it here or do I need to finish a hook? See what I'm saying? Like, I think we kind of get caught sometimes, me too, coaches, trainers, like being so dictated on do it right. Like, how many times have you team ran a play and it wasn't ran like you guys did it in 5-on-0, but it worked because something else happened in the game, right? It's broken play, right? So, but there's tons of ways you get, but you have to do decision making, and it's going to be sloppy. The workout's not going to be perfect. Like, someone comes in, they're going to be like, oh, like he's messing up. Yeah, he's going to mess up. That's what you want. We make wrong decisions off the floor all the time. But there's not somebody there watching and critiquing it every move we do. So
for sure. On that subject of like everything not being perfect during a workout and messing up and making mistakes, like, can you let everyone know, like, what does that look like with guys at the highest level in a workout? Are they making mistakes, like, and messing up moves and making wrong decisions? I think that's super important for especially younger players and players coming up to here, because I think people try to be a little too perfect in their workouts sometimes.
For sure. No, everybody makes mistakes at every level. Like, I try to tell, like, the younger players, they'll do, like, something that's tactical, and they're, like, just not doing it right. Everybody looks like this, believe it or not. Now, they might not be this basic of a skill, but for them, they look just like this. Like, like, for the most part, 7 out of 10, 5 out of 7, 6 out of 8, catch and shoot threes for a high-level player is pretty easy. But there's days they don't get it done the first time, and they got to do it again. Now it becomes a mental game. They got to do it again. You know, like, it's just unfortunate that not young players can't have the access to watch the highest level and see, like, man, for one, see that they are real and they do make mistakes and they do struggle and they have to fight through that stuff through workouts, but also see that, man, I got a long way to go. These guys are a different breed. Regardless at the highest level, the biggest thing I see a difference in, like, the competitiveness of within the drill. Like, a lot of guys I've worked with, like, you can't be they don't like, unless it's just like a maintenance day, like a watering the plants, they just come and get touch finishes, catch and shoots. But, like, they would much rather tell you, hey, you got to make 7 out of 10 than just make 7. They want that because it triggers their mind. Psychologically, everybody has a different ticker, and for them, their ticker is it's got to be competitive. But I wish more younger players could see because all they see is the game. Yeah, they don't see the mistakes, the struggle, and the workouts.
For sure. Yeah. I think that's one of the good things though about like social media and like doing interviews like this, because then now players see like, oh yeah, like they are messing up, they are doing this, and it gives like a little bit more of a behind the scenes looks. I mean, yeah, really up until recently, all you see is the games or like the parts of practice that they want you to see on TV
Sure.
or on the highlights and stuff like that. And it kind of puts this false image in your head. So I appreciate you diving into that. And I think it's super important for everyone to understand. And on that subject about the competitiveness, and that's one of the main differences that guys at that level have. Are there any other traits or characteristics of guys at the highest level that help them to stand out and make it that far?
I think that one of the most underrated things is their character. Like, I think it really goes like, there's so many guys that don't make it, and they're like, oh, well, he couldn't do that. Well, you don't know what he was doing off the floor, or how he was in the locker room, or how he was towards his teammates, or that type of deal. And I think that it's people. There's certain people that have that high character, and that's why they're in the league and stay in the league and have the opportunity to be in the league. Because typically, someone with super high character has those same people in their circle, and the people that are kind of, I'm not saying they're not high character. They just like, they're all over the place. Like they do this, they do that, they do this, they do that. They don't have like super nice structure. And I was talking about this 2 days ago is actually Pete, the guy you had on last week, the GA at UIC, and D Brown is on staff there. You know, played Illinois, played the NBA a long time. And he was just talking about his time in Utah with Jerry Sloan and Derek Fisher. He said Derek Fisher really helped him stay in the league and maintain his longevity. I mean, he's not even 6 foot tall. He had a long career. And he was saying, like, if I had young NBA players, like if there's 2 things that I would do for them player development-wise, would be, 1, keep them away from all the bad stuff. And for 2, create a routine. And to rewind, like I was on the floor and we got after it 25, 30 minutes, and it's 2 young players. They're entering the draft. And I told them, I was like, you guys have to get a routine. Like, you need to, I'm not telling you what it is, but you guys have to create. Right now, you guys just come in here in your form shirt, you shoot on, you get loose, you run up and down, you're good. But like at some point, like D always talked about with Derek Fisher, like he'd come in, he'd foam roll for 15, he'd stretch for 10, he'd get on the floor for an hour, he'd do the same thing off, then he'd go get treatment, he'd eat, he'd go home, nap, come back and do the same routine when he came back in. 15-minute foam roll and 10 stretch. I said, what's an easier game to play in college? What's an easier game to get up for? The Tuesday night conference game or the Monday 11 a.m.? The Tuesday, because you have a routine. You went to class. You had shoot around. Your meals were when they were supposed to be. You got that Saturday, maybe it's not even 3 o'clock. Maybe it's a 7 o'clock game. It's a primetime game. But now you don't have class. Like you don't have the routine. This now, when you're a professional basketball player, is your classroom. So you have to create your routine when you come in. So the best players, they have a routine, I believe, and they stick to it. Now you can always make adjustments within it, but they have a routine and they know what needs to get done. And they also have a super high standard for themselves. Like, yeah, like I gotta like get them going. Like, hey, not good enough, but like for the most part, like they're self-triggered and they know what is acceptable and what is not acceptable.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think the routine thing is super important because definitely, even from like high school to college to some degree, like you have a lot more freedom in college, and then definitely from college to pro, it's way more freedom because you don't have class, you don't really have anything else you got to do besides hoop. So having that routine, I can see how that could be very beneficial because I know even going from like high school to college, it's like, whoa, I have so much more freedom, and then it's just even more so when you make that jump from the college level to the pro level.
For sure. For sure.
Awesome. Well, what are some of your favorite concepts to teach players as a skills trainer?
Favorite concepts to teach. Well, first, skill wise, one of my favorite skills to teach is hesitation. Okay. Some of my favorite. I'm a big finishing guy.
Gotcha.
I love. I have like a doc. I couldn't tell how many types of finishes there are. Then it boils down to what finishes are right for what players and what situations. But I love to teach passing. You know, shooting and passing are the only skills in the game to me that have absolutely no relation to how athletic you are. Like your finish and your touch doesn't, but your speed and your ability and your angle to get to there, to get to the finish does.
Yeah.
Right? Your rebounding, yes, there's not all athletic, but to a degree, every other skill has some sort of like athleticism. Passing does not. Like, yeah, you got to maybe you got to get to the spot to make the decision to pass. But I love to teach passing. I'm a huge one-hand pass guy. I've gotten more into jump passes, not to jump and then find a pass, but find the pass then jump. All sorts of outside your shoulder passing. You know, the higher level you go, the more finishes and passing you have to do outside your shoulders. You know, most high school players finish layups here, and they pass here. But the farther you go on level, it's got to get out further. You got to throw passes here. You got to throw passes here. You got to throw passes here. Like, and same way of finishing. Like, you can't finish layups here. You got to go finish away from your body. I picked up from – so I was doing pre-draft last year with Nick Friedman, a good friend of mine. Helped me along the way. Now he's on staff. He's the player development for the Hornets. And Cody Topper, who's an assistant for Memphis, and he was the head player development for the Suns before they let go of Igor 2 years ago. And they really helped me to, like, I thought I was good at what I was doing, but, like, I took something from them and put into what I do. They do a lot of, like, layered stuff where super high tempo, and there's a lot of decisions being made. It's not blocked. So, all right, maybe it's, let's say it's a wing. All right, you're going to go corner, catch, and shoot three. Then you're going to sprint lift to the wing. Okay? Catch it. It's live on the catch. If you drive it middle, we have a defender in the opposite wing and an offensive player in the opposite wing. You got to make that read. You play one-on-one, you drive it middle. Now you got to make a read to get this defender, right? So let's say they do help in. All right, you spray it out. Once you spray it out, then you got to find the line. When you find the line again, it's live on the catch again. After that, back to the wing, catch and shoot. Back to the corner, live action on the corner. So, like, how it's not the same thing over and over again. It's not blocks.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, all right, make 10 threes or make 10 dribble and pull-ups. Like, there's time and the place for that for blocks and repetition, but that makes players go to the next thing because that's how it is in the game. So I like doing that stuff. In those days, I'm completely drenched. Like, I'm completely soaked just like they are because I'm defending 3 or 4 possessions in one set, and there's probably 15, 20 sets during the workout. So I'm probably doing, 50, 60 defensive possessions. So I like that stuff. It's super high tempo. It's competitive. I'm talking trash the whole time, especially if I'm getting stops. They're talking trash because they want to score on me. I feel like sometimes they want to score on me more than the people they play against. But those are kind of some of the things that I enjoy. But I enjoy it all, man. Every player is different.
For sure.
So
nice. And then on the topic of the hesitation, I know that's something a lot of players want to develop. How do you develop a good hezi?
For like a youth player who doesn't have a coach or trainer, I would tell you to stay in front of the mirror and simply just have the ball in one hand, and don't have your opposite hand over here. Have it, probably about hip width. Okay. And just look dead at the mirror and just bring this hand as close as you can without touching, as quick as you can. Boom. 1 second pause. Boom. 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 As quick as you can, because that's how it is. The only time you look at the rim to me is when you shoot or you act like you're going to shoot. Like even when I was growing up, get your eyes up. You shouldn't get your eyes up. You should get your eyes down the floor. There's 3 levels of the floor to me. The floor itself is 1. Mm-hmm. The next level that's playing would be 2. And level 3 would be the rim. So I would have them here first, level 2, just boom. Quick as you can. 1 second pause and slam it there. Next step would be same way here. I'm looking dead, and then as I bring my hand here, I'm going to look up as I'm at the rim. You do that in the mirror. Do that in the mirror. Do that in the mirror. And continue until it looks natural. Then you can add a dribble, right? Dribble, hand, eyes. Dribble, hand, eyes. Now there's a bunch of stuff I couldn't be able to show on here, but that's the basic premise of it. I think that hesitation and shot fake are some of the most unutilized skills. Like, I think that those can be used for anybody, and they're simple. Simply acting like you're going to shoot. People don't want you to shoot, uncontested. And hesitation, for some players that can really shoot, you're trying to get them to pop up in the air. They're trying to get them to raise. Whereas some people that can't shoot, you can still hesitate because all you want them to do is freeze. Hesitation can make you freeze as a defender and also make you raise up. I think we all caught up on the raise up part, like, the guy jumped up. But really, my first professional client in 2014, Courtney Beldrew, who's still overseas and couldn't shoot. But his hesitation worked all the time because he was come down with head of steam and he just hesitate, and the defender would just like tighten their core, free, and I'm out. All you want is just a quick twitch to get by. So, but I think every player needs a hesitation that's on the perimeter, I think.
Got you. Awesome. Then we got another question from the comments. This one's a good one, so we'll ask it. Let's see. What if the role you want is different from the role your coach is playing you at currently? For example, if I want to be an ISO player like Harden, but my coach currently wants me to play catch and shoot.
Do you want to play? Do you want to play? Because if you want to play, you better be good at catch and shoot. You can have whatever role you want to have. But if your coach wants you to have this certain role, you got to abide by that first. You got to gain his trust. And once you can gain that trust of being a great catch and shoot, then maybe he lets you have the ball a little bit more in your hands. I can imagine, I'm sure this is a young player, like isolation, some of the lowest percentage shots in high school basketball. Because I think that, for one, they're not very good at isolation. For two, you probably got three people on the court that can't shoot with you. So the whole lane is completely packed.
Yeah.
So it's that much harder of a shot. That's why I think it's hard to isolate in high school unless you got some pieces around you. Unless you can shoot it. Yeah, like I remember Jason Tatum was like that too. Like, why are you sitting in the back there? You can see. Bro, I'm just watching. Idiot. So like Jason Tatum, he isolated in high school, but he was 6'7", 6'8", and he had good players on his team too, but he could shoot over the top. Like your junior high school player at 6'1", 6'2", like, man, you're able to make a lot of jump shots in isolation. I think it's hard to get to the rim if you don't have players around you in high school. Same way in college. So
for sure. Awesome. I definitely agree with you there. I mean, when I was playing, definitely didn't have an ISO game. I was just catch and shoot all day, and got to college for a little bit playing that way. So it definitely it works. It works for sure. And then looks like we got another question. Same person. Do you think it's easier to score at the NBA level as opposed to college because the spacing is so much better? Like an example would be Donovan Mitchell. I'm not sure what the last part is asking there, but for the first part, what do you think?
I don't think it's necessarily easier. It's easier because I'm not going to say it's easier. Every player's better. The defense is better. The coaching's better. The schemes are better. But with the rules being played with more spacing and better players around you, at times it can be easier. College, like we just said, there's 2, 3, maybe 4 guys that can't shoot above 35% from three. And that's why post-ups are going extinct, but that's why in post-up in college is even harder. Like, you got a great post player, you're going to W, throw it out, skip it out. All right, live with him shooting it. Easier to score the NBA level opposed to college. No chance.
Gotcha.
What if you want to put Donovan Mitchell back in Louisville right now? Can you imagine?
that would be something else for sure.
For sure. And obviously he's way better player than he was at Louisville, of course. But it's definitely harder to score in the NBA. The spacing is just different. You got better players around you.
Absolutely. And then another question I got for you is how do you go about building that degree of like trust with the players you're working with, especially at the highest level where they're very skilled, talented. I mean, they've made it this far. Like, how do you go about building that level of trust to have them like really like genuinely listen to you and buy into what you guys are doing?
I would say, like, when I was growing up and playing, coaches were all about like tough love, whereas players are a little bit different now. So I think it's more like love tough and showing people that you genuinely care about their career, and showing them and providing them more value than just basketball skills. Like, breaking down their film, seeing their film, creating them edits, showing them stuff, talking to them. Like, relationships are made on the floor, but a lot of your relationships made off.
For sure.
Go up early, you have the workout, you have the understanding, and knowing the person. Like, if I have a player, I'm watching interviews of them, not with me, but from other videos, to know who they are, like their upbringing, who are their parents. You gotta have stuff to relate to them than just basketball. Because after you get out of college, you still talk to your college coaches, but the people you talk to the most, generally outside your family, are the people you work with, meaning your trainers and your agent. Like, those are the people you talk to the most for that stint of you being a professional player at any sport. So I think provide more value outside of just basketball and showing them you generally care about them in their career. Because in the industry of training, like, it's so clout-based and social media and doing this, that, and the other. Look, man, I went and watched XYZ of all your stuff. Here's a clip edit. Like, I'm not putting this clip edit back out. It's on my Instagram. Like, hey, I did this for such and such. No, I'm just doing this for you because I think this could get you a better opportunity and create more statistical value to then get you a bigger contract. You only can do this for a short amount of time in regards to playing. So, and being relatable. Every relationship's different. And knowing how players tick and knowing, like I said, kind of their upbringing and their background can really separate you.
For sure. And then in your experience as a skills trainer, like, what are some really, let's say, top 3 most common mistakes you see players making, regardless of level? Just what are the most common mistakes that stand out to you?
Basketball wise?
Basketball wise.
Skills?
Yeah.
Top 3 are a couple of mistakes that most players make. I would say purposeful work.
Okay.
Purposeful work, like the work they're doing is not purposeful to whether you're a high school player or you're an NBA player.
Yeah.
I see plenty of players that aren't working purposeful, but everybody has their own subjective opinion. Surrounding themselves with people that are looking out for the best in them. And then I think having a long-term goal for what they're trying to get achieved, and not just doing it day by day. Because it's so quick. Like, people think you get, say you're a first round pick, you can be out of the NBA in 3 years. You're not careful. Those are kind of some things that come off the top of my head. As like a routine is obviously important too. Working purposefully. And then having that circle, like I said, that circle, not only people that are not yes men, but also people that are high character and truly want the best for you.
For sure. And then on the subject of the whole idea of purposeful work, like, realistically, for most players, what do you think is a good amount of time to be spending in the gym? Because I know a lot of players think they need to be in the gym all day, every day. And a lot of it ends up being low quality work that's not really actually helping you. It might actually be detracting because you're not recovering. So from a perspective of a pro trainer, working with the guys at the highest level, what do you think is an appropriate amount of time? And obviously it's going to depend greatly on the individual, the time of the year, what the goals are and stuff like that. But in general, how much time should a player be looking to spend in the gym?
Right. I think for sure, the guys I have right now, they're Monday through Friday. Now, 2 of those days they come in and shoot at night as well. Not every day. So typically we're on the floor 50 minutes to an hour 05. But they also are lifting 5 days a week too.
Yeah.
So I would say if you can come in for an hour 15, it's different if you're working out by yourself, of course. It's going to take longer. Chasing your rebound, that type of stuff. If you have someone working you out, hour 10, if you want to come in and knock down another 100 catch and shoot threes at night, that's fine. But I think that 2.5 hours a day, if you're coming in there and really doing it, and like you said, it depends on that type of the year, because you want to maximize your time. You don't want to overtrain and then you get a lingering injury and now you got to sit down for 3 or 4 days. It didn't benefit you. And everybody's body's different. I mean, I got clients that their load is different than other people's load. It's just different. Maybe it's them physically, and also maybe it's just their capacity their mental capacity. Like, they can't take more than just that. But I'm all about quality over quantity. Like, I think more people went that way since there's been maybe a positive social media and more people coming out and saying it. But definitely quality over quantity.
Yeah, absolutely. And then as you're shifting, as we're talking about like different times of the year, as you shift from like off season to getting ready, like preseason to in season, like how does a player's training change as you move throughout different phases of the year?
In season, you're strictly focused about the role they're currently on. You're not expanding your role. In season, off season, you're strengthening your role and then expanding the current role you have. During the season, it's shorter segments. For me, it's whether it's a high school player or a college player, it's 35, 40 minutes. Strictly, maybe here and there, it might be a little bit of contact. There is still contests. It's more blocked training for me. That's how I kind of run it. Unless I'm like, hey, we need to do some live stuff for 5 to 8 minutes just to keep the workload down. Because obviously contact, live, that type of stuff it's a higher workload. So 35, 40 minutes, maximizing the role they have, getting straight to it. I minimize certain things. Like, you start snipping out some stuff that you think is not maximizing their time. Compared to what I just said, right at an hour, a little before, a little after during the off season, but during season, 35, 40 minutes.
Cool. And then in terms of like game day routines and what players typically do, obviously this vastly depends on the player and their preferences, but what have you seen in the players you've worked with as far as like an effective game day routine in terms of like from a skills perspective, like making sure your jumper is right and just tuning up before the game?
I think it's part of your routine too. Is like players aren't made in practice; they're made outside it. So I think, like, let's just say at college, the NBA is a little bit. I mean, they have their own slots for shoot around. They have their own slots before games. In college, you kind of just got to come out there and shoot with a couple teammates because there's not that long time. There's not many coaches around helping you with it. But I would say is getting your routine done in the morning, before or after, most likely after your shoot around. Then it all depends on how you eat. Some guys like to eat something right before shoot around, and then let's say it's college, right? Let's say it's a primetime game 7. It's like some guys like to eat a little something, have shoot around, and then eat a bigger breakfast after. Have their next meal at probably, because shoot around's probably 9 or 10. Have their next, and probably not have their pregame meal until probably 2 or 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. What do they say? Optimize is what? 2 hours, 3 hours before? 2 hours before?
It depends. I like anywhere between 2 to 4 hours is probably fine. And then between there, it's really just the preference of the athlete. But anywhere between 2 to 4 hours, you're probably good.
Yeah. So you have your pregame meal and then you have your meal. But I think players need to have the routine once they get to the arena too. Like I said, in the NBA, you have your slot, you come in and get your shots, but college kids need to do the same thing too. All right, I come in, I'm listening to music in my locker room, I get stretched out, I foam roll, then I go and get tape, and I get, what I'm saying? Like, that is part of your routine. And when you have a routine creates comfortability. And that is a time, I think, when you want to be comfortable before the game. You don't want to be uncomfortable, right? Like, I got to get my ankle tape. Oh, man, there's no trainer at this facility. Now I don't have my ankle. Like, you're a little helter-skelter. You don't have that steadiness. So I think it alternates for every player, but having a routine, like what we've been talking about, is having a routine on game day, I think is super important.
Yeah, and I love that. And I think it's interesting how you brought up like the pregame meal and stuff like that, and how that impacts their pregame routine skill-wise. From what you've seen, what do their diets typically look like? Is that something you've seen a lot, or like in the brief, like maybe you see a meal or two? Like paying attention to that stuff?
College kids I've seen is bad.
Yeah.
For one, they're on campus, like they're eating cafeteria. For two, they don't have any dollars in their pocket.
Yeah.
So they're not able to. I mean, it's bad in this country. It costs more to eat right, and for some people, it's just not an option. At the NBA level, the players I've been around have done pretty well. Like, they don't eat clean, but they eat like they know their body. especially the more you like, even like myself, like I used to be a gigantic milk guy. I never touch dairy anymore, ever.
Yeah.
Like I'll eat cheese, but like I'm not hitting a glass of 2% milk with dinner. Like I'm not doing that just for me, because it's funny how you get older. I think players should do that as well. Is like every year you're kind of like, nah, my body doesn't bounce back from that, or it doesn't do well with that. So, but for the most part, I think they do. But they have more options. They can have a chef. They can have their meals prepped or that type of deal. There's no excuse for a player that's getting paid a significant amount of money. There's players that aren't making very much money, but to not at least make the effort to eat right.
For sure. And then looking at the differences between, let's say, for example, one of your NBA guys or G League guys and guys that hoop overseas, is there a difference in what you're focusing on skill-wise, depending on whether they're here in the States or overseas somewhere?
For sure, the game's different. Like the rules are different. Overseas game, there's no defense in 3 seconds, so the lane is always packed. For instance, I tell people overseas, everybody post up. You got to be able to defend the post. They still shoot the mid range. The analytics hasn't really taken over there quite yet. I mean, there is some, but they still play what I would call typical non-analytical basketball. It's super physical. So your skill sets are different, and just like the whole realm of being across the water is different. Language barrier, they think different. Like here, like NBA organizations, at least the ones that I've been around overseas, is like they don't look at it as like building an organization to then make it more profitable. It's more just like something to have in a hobby, because a lot of overseas teams are owned by businesses. They're not owned by individuals. And that's why the pandemic can really affect the budgets. But definitely different. Skill sets are different. The game is played differently. But like I said, the lane is super packed overseas. And that's why you get so many foreigners that come over here and can shoot, because there's not as much space. But the overseas game is such high level. Like Luka Doncic's team that won EuroLeague 2 years ago. I mean, they would beat Zion's Duke team by 40. Like the game is at a super high level. I'm just lucky enough to be able to see it live when I go over, instead of just being like, overseas, like it's on a different planet. Because a lot of people don't get to see it. They don't have that luxury, but definitely different for sure.
For sure. And you mentioned the analytics a little bit. Like as of right now, like how much does that impact like what you do? So I know like a lot of teams are looking at that stuff. Are you looking at analytics as far as like that influencing how you're approaching skills training with the player? And then on top of that, how do you see that progressing like in the future as far as its overall involvement in the game?
It definitely affects me. We try to stay away from a bunch of like I'm about shooting the best shot available based on your skill set. And that's why like the mid-range, like not shooting the mid-range at all, I'm not completely with, because like if you say, hey, here is the mid-range percentages for the NBA, it's not good points per possession wise, which is PPP, the most important stat. But that's skewed. Like, yeah, like Al Horford shot a one dribble pull up. Yeah, he's probably not going to make that shot. It's not his skill set. But DeMar DeRozan shoots it. Yeah, it's probably a good shot. So it's skewed, Now, I still don't think you need to shoot an overly heavy dose of them. Now, it hasn't affected me like at the rim. I still teach floater, and I always will. I just don't want an undersized guard to go in there and try to finish at the glass just because a higher percentage shot when it's going to get blocked or super high contested. I think it affects me that way, skill set wise. It also affects defensively. Like what shots do you want to force? You'd be surprised how many players you ask, what's the highest percentage shot in basketball? And they say a layup? No, a free throw. Then a layup. Then a catch and shoot three. They trigger in their mind. So flip that, reverse engineer that. What kind of shots do we want to force? We want to keep them off the free throw line. We don't want them to get layups, and we don't want them to get open catch and shoot threes. So I think it's going to continue to evolve. I don't know what's going to happen next. Hopefully, I was born in 91, so the 90s were mid-range heaven, and that's kind of how I started. Sure. But I think that I'm still about the best available shot. You look in the playoffs, you got to shoot the mid-range. You're not going to just get threes and layups, and it's not that easy. But it's definitely evolved basketball for sure.
For sure, for sure. And then look, with your experience being around the league, like, are there any players right now that you feel like are kind of slept on that are gonna make some waves in the near future?
Underrated players in the NBA. Let me think here. Yeah, I got one for you.
All right.
Isaiah Hartenstein.
Okay.
That's the one. Then another one. Let me think here. I'm trying to think of some of my favorite players that are underrated to me. I'm a big Spencer Dinwiddie fan. Love Spencer Dinwiddie. Like his story. And he's got a lot of guards in Brooklyn. I mean, he still played really, really well. I'm trying to think of a young player. I'm trying to get one off the wall for you. That I think will take off. Man, I don't know. It's tough.
It is tough.
I'm trying to think somebody like not that's just like out of the realm.
I'm trying to think. Yeah.
Somebody that's underrated.
Yeah, there's always.
I won't say the guys I'm working with now, but they're not NBA players yet, so I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome, man. Well, let's see. We got a couple of questions that aren't necessarily like skills related. Some of them are nutrition related, so I'm just going to answer them real quick.
Okay.
Let's see. One of them say, "How are you? I heard creatine causes hair loss. Is that true?" Another question: creatine increased water weight, so this is bad for vertical jump. The second one is easy answer. Probably not going to be bad for vertical jump. If anything, it might help you just increase power. And there actually was a study that showed that looking at vertical jumps and creatine didn't increase your max vert, but it decreased the amount of time between max vertical jump efforts. So especially in basketball, that could be really impactful. Like if you need to explode it for a rebound and then do another explosive activity like very quickly after that, that could be beneficial. And then in terms of the hair loss one, that's going to be super individual. There was one study that found that a hormone that potentially could lead to hair loss was upregulated when creatine was supplemented with. But I don't think that study was replicated. Don't quote me on that one. But that's going to be individual. It might for some people. For some people, it's not going to. Overall, I would say the risk is pretty low for that. And then another nutrition-related question we got was, my off-season coming up, want to put on some weight. How do I gain weight while at the same time also improving conditioning and speed-wise? Also without having to work out on a full stomach. Well, the second one, not having to work out on a full stomach, just eat a few hours before you train. Don't eat like a rep before you train. Just space out your meals right and you should be good there. And then in terms of weight gain without slowing yourself down, there's actually a whole series on the YouTube channel going over that. So I would check that out. But just in general, just don't gain weight too quickly. And in general, I think hoopers think they have to put on more weight than they actually do. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. Especially the further you get along your career.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of hoopers come to me saying like, "Oh, I want to put on like 30 pounds this offseason." I'm like, "What are you gonna do with 30 pounds? Like that's not gonna do much for you on the floor." I would say like if you could put on some like quality weight, like even 4, 5, 6 pounds, like that will still do you plenty. And as long as you're getting stronger in the gym, working on your skills, and you'll be good there. But in general, just go slow with the weight gain, and that should avoid any issues that you might face there with speed. Cool. Awesome. Well, as we're starting to wrap up now, I know we're coming up on the hour mark here. In general, is looking at what would be your biggest piece of advice for athletes, and this could be on the court stuff, off the court, wherever you want to take this. If you had to give one piece of advice to an athlete coming up, what would it be?
One piece of advice, I would say, God, I'll start off the floor.
Okay.
I would say is to where I can see it. Dude's coming on the story, man. He's tripping. Off the floor, off the floor would be, I would say, surrounding your people with the correct people that had the same vision as you.
Yep.
I think that's in any profession. I think that's not just being a basketball player. I think that's whatever you want to do. You want to be a teacher. You want to be a coach. You want to be an engineer. Like having those people around you in your circle that are really looking out for the better of you. Like we talked about, no yes men, people that are going to really show you and, you know, keep you in line and have the same vision as you, your circle.
Yeah.
On the floor wise is working, just outworking the people that you want. How I want to put that, like outworking what you want to be long term and your goal, and working like that strategically, but also purposefully. Like the more people you can get around where you want to be or on their way there, the better. So you can see how they work. Like like I want to play in college, but nobody in your family ever played in college. Or nobody in your high school, your teammates are going to play. You're the only one that's going to go to play in college. Well, it's hard. Like you got to go out and see other things, get outside your bubble so you can then learn how to work and see what it really entails for you to get to that level. We all say work hard, and I believe in it. You got to, if you work hard, you treat people the right way, you're going to get blessed regardless. So, man, just be a great person, work hard, work purposeful, and surround yourself with a great circle.
Love it. Love it. And then one more question I got for you. When I was doing some research preparing for the interview, I saw a video on your IG talking about your go-to snack. Now, I actually didn't watch the video, but I'm curious, what is your go-to snack?
Oh, man, I love a peanut butter cracker, bro.
Like if I PB&J.
No,
obsessed with PB&J, bro.
What do you say?
The NBA is like obsessed with PB&J.
PB&J, yeah.
It's just like there's an obsession.
I'll eat some peanut butter crackers. I eat a lot of banana too, but I intermittent fast, so I don't eat two or three. But like I'll, if I'm getting ready to go to the gym and I'm hungry, I'll get a 6-pack of them peanut butter crackers. I'm killing them.
There you go. Awesome, man. Well, Stephon, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. This was an awesome interview. I know I learned a ton. You're insanely smart when it comes to the game of basketball. So I know everyone listening and watching this right now enjoyed this and got a lot out of it. And then if you're watching in the past broadcast, if you're new around here, coming from Stephon's pages, I post nutrition stuff all the time. So if you want to subscribe, feel free to. I'd really appreciate it. But Stephon, where can everyone keep up with what you're doing and everything that you have going on?
So I actually have a YouTube page as well. It's Dig Deep Basketball. Cool. And then my Instagram is Dig Deep Basketball. My Twitter is my name, as it's said right below me, Stephon Martinez. Facebook's the same way. I would say I'm most active on my Twitter and my Instagram, and now my YouTube. I'm starting to put I do all my film edits, my film breakdowns on IG, but now I'm starting to put them on YouTube now. So there'll probably be more there. But yeah, man, if you got any questions, concerns, don't be bashful about DM me.
Awesome. Well, again, I appreciate your time, and everyone that tuned in, I appreciate you guys as well. If you're watching this in the past broadcast, definitely be sure to share with another hooper. Like I said, whenever I learn a ton during a podcast, I know it's a good one. So definitely be sure to share it. Send your friends, coaches, teammates, anyone who you think would benefit from this. Would appreciate it if you send it their way. And Stephon, I appreciate taking the time.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.